Ladies and gentlemen, we are back for episode 2 of whatever the heck this podcast is. It's a WoW podcast, it's a PvE podcast, and today we have arguably the best class in the game, Hunters. That may be a bold take, but I truly, firmly believe that Hunters are a fantastic class. I've been playing one myself for a long time now, but I am joined today by 3 amazing guests in no particular order. Or maybe there is an order and I'm just not telling you guys. Maybe I'm doing this from my favorite to my least favorite, who knows. But today we have got Addon in the house. Addon, could you take a moment to introduce yourselves, or introduce yourself, I should say, and let people know who you are and what's going on?
Sure thing. Hi, I'm Addon. I've been playing a hunter since Legion. Technically Warlords, but only the very end. I casually raid. I get most of my enjoyment out of doing M+, so I push keys a lot more than I do raiding. But I do a lot of casual stuff too. I love a good chill, mount farm, transmog run, all of that jazz. So I do a little bit of everything. Not so much PvP, but play a lot of World of Warcraft. I do like my alts from time to time, and I also play a lot of Diablo 4 as well.
Ooh, okay. What are you playing D4?
A little bit of everything, whatever's meta, to be honest, because that's really fun in D4. I
Nothing
don't
wrong
chase
with
the
that.
meta in WoW, but I do in Diablo.
Nothing wrong with that. Indeed. Speaking of the guy who just spoke, ladies and gentlemen, you've seen him here before. You may have heard of this guy in the Hunter community. He may have had a hand or 2 or 18 hands in shaping how everyone plays this class. The one, the only, Azertharian. What is going on, man? How the heck are you? Thanks for coming back after so many years. It is genuinely good to see you.
Thank you very much for having me. I'm Azertharian. I've been writing Hunter guides for a long time, sort of making content, basically just kind of giving people information to achieve their goals in a Hunter, because like being proficient at whatever game you like to play is just makes it more fun. Even if you're at a casual level, it's nice to just pwn noobs, to top the meters, all that kind of stuff. So that's sort of the niche I've carved out, is just helping people do that.
Well, I say this not just to stroke your ego, but I think I speak for literally thousands of people when I say thank you very much for your work over the years and how much you have contributed to the class and to our understanding of it, man. It's incredible having people like you in these positions to guide and educate us, and it's truly awesome having you here again, man. I do appreciate it.
Thank you so very much.
Then, for some reason, Bancher's decided to take some time off of Mythic Plus to hang out with us today. You can see him running keys all the way up to plus 40s, I think, nowadays on his stream. And by the way, everyone's name under their webcam, that is where you can find them on Twitch. Make sure you please go follow them, drop into their streams, give them subs, all that fun stuff. Banchers, thank you for being here, man. Please tell people who you are, other than being just a mega hunter gamer, and what's going on.
Yeah, so I played very casually from like Classic up until Legion, like taking lots of breaks. Didn't really do much outside of like, basic questing, whatever stuff. And then I kind of wanted to take the game more seriously, so I played every class at the very end of Legion in BFA pre-patch, and I decided that I really vibed with the Hunter the most. The thing that drew me in was that there's like 3 very distinct archetypes. It was like standstill turret MM, and then it was like do anything BM, and then it was like a melee survival, and I was like really drawn into that because I like variety, and it was just like one class I could play and play like all the roles I really liked playing. So it was cool. And then I just mainly do keys and raid, any high-end PvE content.
Are you currently done with progression right now, or is your guild still progressing through Mana Forge?
Yeah, we're like world like 60-ish, somewhere around there.
Oh yeah.
So
you may have been done for a day or 2. I understand. I got you. All right, well, we're just gonna get right into this. Thank you guys again for being here. Thank you for introducing yourselves. So we're gonna start where we're at. We are literally 2 days away from beta starting, which is kind of crazy when you stop and think about it. I feel like we literally started alpha. The turnaround time has been nuts. People, I think, are going to start looking for what's being carried forward from the War Within, what's being scrapped, and so on and so forth. And Azra, I'm going to start with you. How would you describe the overall vibe of Hunter right now at the end of the War Within, with Midnight just a few months away? Is the Hunter class, are we excited? Are we cautious? Are we worried? What's going on?
I mean, in terms of how it's going right now, Hunter is enjoying crazy popularity because Beast Mastery is sort of in the meta, and the last time Hunter was in the Mythic Plus, or like general meta, it was survival. And for better for worse, survival hasn't been terribly popular. But the thing is about Beast Mastery is that it's even when it's not that great, it's still one of the most played specs in the game. So now, one of the most like by default popular specs in the game is also one of the best specs in the game for like all kinds of PvE content. So yeah, everyone, even if they're not maining Hunter, they probably have a Hunter all because they want to get in on this meta-ness with Beast Mastery Dark Ranger at the moment. Yeah. And in terms of the vibe towards alpha, I mean, not a lot of people are on the alpha, unfortunately, but that's, with the beta coming out, that's about to change. So I don't think, outside of what people are hearing from, I guess, from Banchers, myself, and Abaddon, people don't really have a strong vibe about Midnight other than what they're hearing. So it'll be interesting to see what people think once the beta basically hits everyone who did the early access thing, right? But pretty positive on live right now, but I think a lot of it is riding on perhaps just how numerically strong Beast Mastery is. Maybe not so much necessarily the gameplay of Beast Mastery. That's not to say it's bad, but I think it's popular because of the numbers, not necessarily the gameplay at the moment.
Gotcha. Banchers, how much of the War Within's design philosophy do you see being carried forward from the War Within into Midnight? Of course, based on what we know, what you've tested yourself.
Yeah, so for the hunter classes or specs, MM's kind of going more into the turret direction. Aim shots cast time got increased, and then everything else is pretty much the same for the most part. BM, it got more simple, which I think a lot of people think is funny because most people think of it as a really simple class. But what they did is they removed a lot of the overhead, and it's kind of just hit, kill, command on cooldown now, which is kind of how I used to play in BFA kind of. So they're kind of going back to that. And then for survival, there's a lot of changes. And I think the biggest problem with that is right now the number tuning is off. And so I feel like there's a lot of different knobs that you can tune on survival, but there's one ability called Boomstick that's just over half your damage, and then everything else is just a small portion, it feels like. But it is kind of it's kind of the same core though, as I would say. It just seems more flavorful now, which is fun. And then the dungeons and raids and stuff seem like they're kind of on the same philosophy for sure.
Gotcha. Abaddon, how long have you been playing Hunter again, please?
About a decade.
A decade. So you didn't play survival pre-melee, is that correct?
Correct. Yeah.
Oh,
I've only known it as a melee hunter class. Yeah.
I'm one of those nerds who I miss survival as a range specialist. I've never enjoyed survival as melee. I know, fairness, I've never given it a fair shake, but anyway, that's a caveat. So I was just curious. But Abaddon, what are you specifically most looking forward to digging into when beta goes live this week? You've been on alpha for a little bit. Correct me if I'm wrong.
Yes.
Are you interested in checking out the dungeons, the delves, exploring? Where do you find you wanting to spend your time?
I definitely feel as though I get enough of delves during a season, so I probably won't be doing those much on alpha beta. They're a great addition, but I tend to have enough of those at one point. I'm somebody who doesn't like to spoil the expansion too much. So I definitely don't so much focus on, the cutscenes or the quest story or anything like that on alpha beta. Maybe don't explore the zones too much, but what I will do is kind of log in, see how Hunter feels, marksman specifically, how it feels at level cap, any talent changes, build changes, how that affects the rotation. So essentially a lot of time at a target dummy is what I usually focus on alpha beta, because I kind of leave everything else to, the hype of the expansion actually coming out.
Sure.
And, of course, with this specific beta, housing, like everybody else.
My wife is excited. She's a big Sims person, and she enjoys doing lore master. So the fact that they're kind of bringing that element in, she is pumped, as I'm sure a lot of people are, and rightfully so. You said you started playing at the end of Warlord, the beginning of Legion, correct, Abaddon?
Yes. Yeah.
So you got to experience. I guess I'll have to back up a step. I think, correct me if I'm wrong, Azertharian, you and I first touched base during WAD, during HFC, when marksmanship was absolutely bonkers. The
Instant
way that
name
that's
shots,
oh my god, the way that that class played. Did you get to play during HFC at all, Abaddon, with marksmanship?
That was the last raid of Warlords, right? The last
Correct.
season.
Yeah.
Not so. Yes, I was definitely playing marksman at that point, but I had just started playing the game, so
Oh, man.
I wasn't really, like rotation
Right.
and guides and raiding and end game. I was just kind of, oh, this is also new and questing and stuff. So I was playing it, but not in a way that I would have been able to kind of notice that sort of a trajectory with marksman. Yeah.
Oh my goodness. I could sit here and just wax on about MM and HFC, but I won't waste anyone's time. I apologize. Banchers, I want to talk about some early wins when it comes to Midnight Alpha going into beta. What at the moment is feeling smooth? What's feeling intuitive? Is there anything promising on the horizon? Subjectively
Honestly,
speaking, of course.
Yeah, the game feels really smooth right now. Actually, one thing that I think is really cool is the art for the next expansion is like the prettiest I think I've ever seen any of the art in the game. And the questing felt smooth. I did all the questing. The dungeons feel really smooth. The delves are longer, which I don't know if I am a fan of, but they're more fun, I guess. And then for like the class design, I feel like while they did simplify everything, I do feel like everything feels smoother, like just in general, because like they took away like clunky things, like they merged cooldowns, stuff like that. So
we're gonna get into we're gonna get into like a deep dive with the specs here in a few minutes. But are you liking just opinion real quick? Are you liking what they've done in terms of combining things, pruning, and that kind of stuff?
Yeah, it definitely feels like they're in a good direction, I think.
Good. All right, we'll get into the specifics of that more in a moment. Azertharian, I'm going to shoot over to you, no pun intended. Early misses with the Hunter class right now. What feels a little half-baked? Maybe a little danger of regression when it comes to how the class plays. Any thoughts? Anything come to mind?
Well, I think what Ben just alluded to with survival's damage profile. I would assume that's temporary, but it makes it a bit difficult to test how. Because when you're testing things out, you're trying to work out like, okay, how is this intended to play? But when the numbers are way off, then like there's no way that what's currently optimal is the intended way to play. So there's a little bit of like numbers that need to be sorted out. Marksmanship, in terms of half-baked, marksmanship just has 2 capstones that just say not yet implemented. They're just blank, right?
Really? I didn't know that. Holy moly.
Yeah. And beta's coming out in a few days, right? So that'll be interesting. I have this hunch that maybe they have a big cook coming for marksmanship because it like received by far the least changes from live. Like they basically just said, oh, yeah, okay, so this is marksmanship. We're gonna make aim shots cast time longer, which everyone is upset about pretty much. And we're just basically not gonna really change anything else. Have fun. And and with those not yet implemented talents and stuff, I don't know, I feel like maybe there's a cook coming. The Apex talents, they're playing with fire a little bit because they're doubling down on the things that people like the least of marksmanship. So the new Apex talents are like they basically say they're like free procs around which marksmanship cares a lot. There's like lock and load procs that's been around forever. Instant aim shots, those are nice. Then there's death blow procs, which are kill shot or black arrow procs depending on Dark Ranger. And then there's the less important surging shots, which is your rapid fire. Cooldown will reset after aim shots. Well, they made a set of talents that basically says, okay, when you get one of those procs, any of them, there's a 25% chance you will get another one of those free procs. So there's like RNG on RNG there, right? You have the chance of getting a proc to begin with. Then if you succeed, there's a 1 in 4 chance you'll get another proc. But the proc that you get out of that is in itself random. So you have like a 1 in 4 chance and then a 1 in 3 chance of getting potentially the proc you want. Which is, because the main problem I think most people would agree with marksmanship right now is that there's a tremendous amount of like variability. Like your performance is often significantly divorced from your quality of play. Like you can play poorly and do really well because you got the procs. Or sometimes you'll play like just textbook perfect, like straight up like a robot, but you didn't get the proc, so you perform really poorly.
Do you think? Oh, go ahead.
Yeah.
Please,
it just looks a bit like they're doubling down on that. which is a bit concerning. I think it's hard to make it more RNG than it is now, but it doesn't seem like it looks like they're thinking of its RNG nature as like a feature and not a bug. And that'll be interesting to see how the community feels about that on the beta.
Do you think like the developers that are in charge of MM, do you think that they're looking at it in a like, 6-minute fight, mathematically speaking, everything should be pretty balanced at the end of a 6-minute fight. Do you think that's kind of why they have things set up this way? Or is there
I'm sympathetic to that, because I also think, when RNG, whatever, like all that matters is how it performs on average, right? But there is a threshold, and I don't know exactly where that threshold is in terms of like when variability divorces your performance from your gameplay to too great a degree, and it just ends up feeling bad. Because like your wins don't feel good because they don't feel like they had anything to do with how you already played, and your losses losses always feel terrible. But and I think marksmanship currently is definitely in that territory. Like marksmanship right now is really rough to play because you never really feel like you're mastering it. It just feels like you're rolling the dice, and sometimes it works out, sometimes it doesn't. And I don't have the numbers on exactly how RNG, like how great the standard deviation is in Midnight, but it looks like they don't want it to be small. Let's just put it like that.
Yeah. Banchers, do you have any input on something, or Abaddon? You guys have any input on what we've been talking about for the past few?
I definitely agree with that. It's been the entire reason I've had a hard time taking to Dark Ranger over Sentinel, because the RNG just, you either do really well and you get the procs, or you don't, and it feels absolutely awful to just be like, well, how's it gonna go? Nothing I can really do about it. We'll just see. So I've kind of stuck to Sentinel for the War Within. I do enjoy Dark Ranger and Raid, but it's felt very rough for the RNG. So I definitely agree.
Banchers, any opinions on everything there?
Yeah, when Azure was talking about even the wins feel bad, that's exactly how I feel. I'll have a poll where I know I misplayed and I'm top of the chart somehow, and I'm just like, this shouldn't be happening. I don't like this. I messed something up.
That's crazy. Abaddon, for someone logging into Midnight, even just beta in a couple of days, like what do you think the first thing that they're going to feel is different from where they come from in regards to the War Within? You talked about being on the dummy a lot, especially when it comes to rotation. Like, what do you think they're going to be like, huh, that's not what I remember or expected?
Yeah, I think, depending on when things get pushed, whether we see it in beta or pre-patch or expansion launch, I think the item level number squish is always a big adjustment for people, because we get so used to kind of building off of the numbers from the previous season and kind of just working our way up and up and up season to season within an expansion. But then when a new one comes out, you kind of have to retrain your brain to be like, I'm not doing as much damage. Oh no, wait, that number is just smaller. So I think that's always a big adjustment for people. And of course, the rotational changes in the talent tree, spec changes, anything like that. I think that people will really feel those. I think, like Azure said, the biggest one right now is the increased aim shot duration cast for marksman. I think that one is going to be interesting to see how that plays out long term and what they do with that. I also think, just from kind of not a hunter specific standpoint, but expansion launch, I know Banshers mentioned the art of this expansion being very, very pretty. The music is always something that hits me on the launch of an expansion, because when I hear the Veldraken music from back in Dragonflight, which wasn't even that long ago, it still gives me like a nostalgic feeling from a couple years ago. So hearing that kind of first zone hub music and knowing, I'm gonna hear this for a while, that's always a cool feeling too for a new expansion.
Get asked, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to talk over you. I get asked all the time, like, Brutal, you play with music? Like, you play with the music on? I'm like, yeah, man, video game music as a whole, I just love video game music, but WoW music's just, there's something special about it. If you guys don't have anything else to contribute, Banchers, Azure, real quick.
Yeah, I'm good. I mean, other thing, half-baked. I mean, it's not even that it feels half-baked, it's just an interesting decision, like a sort of direction they've gone in. I don't think it, other than in the sense that it's literally half-baked because there's like explicitly and not yet implemented stuff, I don't think there's anything where I think they've like missed the mark that they were going for. Because like you could definitely say, well, okay, I don't like that aim shots cast time is longer, and that's a valid opinion and a common one. But I think like the very thing that people don't like about that, which is that it makes movement harder, that's like a feature of the spec now. It's intended to be. And the same way with like a Beast Mastery, as Bencher said, it's kind of funny because it's already considered an easy spec. Now they're doubling down on the fact that it's easy. A lot of people are bored when they play BM because it's easy. Probably a lot more people, I would think, really enjoy BM for its simplicity. So yeah, it's I think they're also making them more distinct because a lot of people are like, just give us a tier set that makes aim shot instant, man. Just give us back that Hellfire Citadel tier set. But the thing is, if you did that, then MM would just be BM, and so they're sort of separating them more. And if you just like marksmanship is going to be more mechanically involved of the range specs, Beastmastery is going to be much more simple. What people think of that is subjective, but I think that they have, assuming that is their objective, I think they've basically gone in the right direction along that track.
Good. Real quick, I saw some people saying that Abaddon's volume was a little low. I turned you up, Abaddon, so you should be good to go now.
Okay.
Can you just say, "Hi, everyone. I'm the best hunter in the world," or something of that sort?
Hi, I'm the best hunter in the world.
You heard it here first, folks. Lock it in. All right, yeah, you definitely are noticeably louder.
But Brutall taught her. That's
no. I taught you, sir.
Okay,
right, there's a difference.
Okay,
there's a difference.
Okay, fair. My bad.
We're going to be pivoting from the big picture to how these things are how these changes are actually playing out when you're in the middle of a dungeon or a raid or whatever. We're going to dive into the specs here. And as stated earlier, you have obviously become a bit synonymous with Hunter Theorycraft, and so we're going to start on the technical side with you. And we've already touched a little bit on this, so if you feel like we've already, and I'm just reading my notes here, people. All right, we're just going through the notes here. So Azur, how do BM and marksmanship feel mechanically in alpha right now? Did the core loops feel cohesive? Do you think there's anything missing at the moment, or have we already basically touched on that?
I mean, Beast Mastery is the very, like, they've removed Frenzy, so like there's no free stack that you have to manage anymore. It's really just like a few buttons on cooldown. The only kind of skill expression is that you might like multi-dot barb shot still. There's a talent that does that for you, but maybe it'll be optimal to like not pick that talent and do it yourself. But then you can choose, like, because a lot of people hate barb shot multi-dotting, you opt into that talent and it's automatic, but you lose the benefit that the other talent would have given you. A wild thrash, which is now the new beast cleave, like you just press it every 8 seconds and that's 100% beast cleave uptime. You don't like sort of try to refresh as late as possible. All of these small forms of skill expression are basically sort of cancelled out now. So Beast Mastery, it almost plays itself. And I think for my money, like if it's optimal, I think that'll be a little bit boring. Let's say Beast Mastery is the meta hunter spec. That would feel a little bit rough to play for 4, 5, 6 months on every kind of content with so little variety in the gameplay. Marksmanship basically feels good, and like I like how marksmanship feels right now. If we ignore the heavy RNG aspect, like it actually feels satisfying to play marksmanship, especially Sentinel. And longer aim shots, I mean, again, very subjective. I don't mind so much because it's a more skill expression, and I like that. I can totally see how someone would dislike it though. But it feels cohesive. Yeah, marksmanship is good, and they haven't broken they haven't fixed what's not broken, I should say. So I broadly feel positive about BM and MM. BM a little bit too simple for my taste, but like trying to look big picture, I think they've got done well to reach their not even stated, but I guess assumed objectives with delineating these specs.
We're just waiting on those 2 capstone talents for marksman, correct?
Yeah, but the thing, I mean, I'm sure they could be really cool, but I don't think that some capstone talents will like fundamentally change anything about the gameplay. But I do also have a hunch that they may be coming with something bigger for marksmanship. I just don't know.
We'll see. We'll see. Yeah. We can only hope.
We'll see.
Abaddon, right now in the War Within, Beast Mastery has the option of not using multi-shot while still completely demolishing the competition in an AoE setting in a lot of cases. Do you think that's a healthy design choice, getting rid of something like a multi-shot while still just being able to just cleave everything down? Does it matter if the spec is still doing AoE without taking such a quintessential AoE talent?
So
Or is it just cool?
a little bit of both. I'll explain what I mean. So I think the fact that we kind of describe that as a quintessential talent reminds me of the Dragonflight Season 3 tier set that Marksman had, where we had near constant uptime on trick shots without having to actually proc it ourselves with multi-shot. Multi-shot was still there, of course, because it was just a seasonal change, which seasonal shakeups like that can be really fun to a spec, a rotation, where you know it's temporary. I don't know if permanently that's a healthy design choice. You don't want something sitting in your talent tree that ultimately feels dead or not useful. So if it just kind of stays that way of BM never really needing multi-shot to do really good AoE, does it just become kind of a dead talent point at that point? I don't know yet, but potentially. So I think depending on where they go with it, that's a concern that I would have. I mean, it's a little different because, of course, you know, right now Marksman has to proc with multi-shot for trick shots, but BM is, you know, a time buff that you refresh. So it does work a little differently for Beast Cleave and stuff like that. But I am interested to see, like, you know, whether it's transient or not, if that feels good long term. Yeah.
And correct me if I'm wrong, but they are what we have right now in the War Within this last season. It's a tier set bonus, so it's not really carrying forward in Midnight. Is that correct, or are they allowing it to continue?
Well, so in Midnight, they're basically like multi-shot is no longer a thing for Beast Mastery. All the Beast Cleave stuff is just baked into this new ability called Wild Thrash, which is like an AoE active 8-second cooldown, which incidentally is exactly how long Beast Cleave now lasts. So you just press this ability on cooldown, and that's how you manage Beast Cleave. On live right now, you know, you specifically say like a design choice. I don't think that the Beast Mastery Pack Leader build that doesn't use multi-shot, I don't think that's like a design choice. I think it's an accident, and it's because they've had to nerf like the Beast Cleave that comes from pets significantly. And then they've made all these other talents that spawn Dire Beasts that are really powerful. And there's a talent that says, well, when you spawn a Dire Beast, which comes from all your like barb shot multi-dotting and stuff, they each get Beast Cleave. And you can get all those talents, and you would pick them regardless without having to pick multi-shot and Beast Cleave, because that's like a 3-point investment. Multi-shot, Beast Cleave, and Kill Cleave. So I think they just didn't really see it coming that, okay, you're going to make it so expensive to get like the natty Beast Cleave from your pets. Fine, we'll just rely entirely on the Dire Beast Cleaves and just multi-dot a lot and let spawn a zoo of animals that are all Beast Cleaving for us. And they're just doing all the work. And then we save 3 talent points that we can put elsewhere. I think it's an accident. I mean, I don't think it's part of what their vision in any way. Like, because right now, Beast Mastery Pack Leader is basically like a low-key a dot spec. Like, it's close to like Demo War. Like, you spawn a bunch of okay, don't crucify me because I don't know Demo War like that well, but like, you multi-dot barb shot all over the place, paint all the nameplates with it, and each tick of those can spawn Dire Beasts, and they do all the damage for you, essentially. I don't think that's what they were going for. I think it's an accident.
Gotcha. Banishers. Okay, please go ahead. Please. I was going to.
Oh, well. One, I do think that accents. I think that's my favorite iteration of BM right now. I think that's a fun version. And then with that, I do think it's unhealthy to have some specs like that, because I remember back when they made the like Dragonflight trees in general, there were some specs like the ones that come to mind are like Fire Mage, like Ignite build, and like Shadow Priest, or like Havoc Demon Hunter, where their optimal single target is their optimal AoE build in some seasons. And then for a long time, for MM and BM, it was like you had to choose. It was like, am I going through the AoE build or am I going to the single target build? And it's like trade-offs and like meaningful choice. But it's weird because they balance it so that the classes that are all really good at single target and AoE in the same build are also being balanced around our pure single target build. And then when we have to lose points to then do that, to like have AoE talents, it gets awkward. And then we feel bad in both contents. It's only useful when every class has that meaningful choice. I think that's cool. But when there's a few winners and a few losers, it feels bad to be a loser. Is the thing.
I couldn't agree more with that. It's been a huge problem, at least in prior seasons, where hunter specs in general have had to give up a tremendous amount of single target to get like their basic AoE kit. And on fights, like usually raid end fights, they usually have like, well, boss damage matters a lot. There's usually DPS check of some kind to meet. Oh, but there's also all these ads that kind of have to be nuked down and are really important, and you can't make it past. So like, let's just put in all the specs that do great single target and AoE at the same time, because they don't actually tune according to, they just kind of, exactly like Bencher said. Just they tune everything along the same axis. And then some specs just do twice the AoE of others while doing the same single target.
Absolutely agree. This is something I complain about all the time.
I was about to ask you. It's like, but how do you feel about this? But yeah.
Yeah, they echoed it perfectly. So yeah, absolutely agree.
Abaddon, where can Blizzard still iterate? I mean, we were talking about all of these things with MM and BM, and MM's missing a couple things, and BM is, playing differently, and so on and so forth. Like, do you think that Blizzard needs to move some talents around? Do they think they need to get rid of something, bring something back? Like, where can iteration come into play at this point with beta starting?
In terms of getting rid of something, I think the pruning happening is a very, very hot topic right now. I think we've touched on this a little bit, but I think we've had enough pruning for the time being. I don't know if I really see anything particularly getting removed right now. I think we're hitting our limit with that for one round of taking everything out. I think people have had their fill of that for all at one time, all at once kind of thing. There are because marksman hunter, we're losing some sort of CC, right? So bursting shot being gone. Personally, I don't mind this because having to run to the target and be in melee range it is kind of annoying to me anyway, as useful as it can be. So that's one that, I sort of don't mind that we're going to be missing. I think depending on some of the other ones that, implosive trap or anything like that we aren't going to have may depend on encounter design, with this whole add-on apocalypse, lots of pruning. Everybody's really concerned, but they have, we'll see how it plays out, but they have made the comment where they want to adjust encounters to kind of reflect all of these changes. So I'm curious to see if we will miss some of these removals as much as we think we will, based on maybe some changes in how encounters work.
Sure.
I do think one thing I would really like to see for Hunter, maybe iterated or added, would be volley at the target instead of on the cursor.
Ooh.
The way that Earthquake works for LA Shaman, I think I would love to see that for Hunter. I think
has that ever been a thing for hunters?
Like
procs or something like
volley,
that?
No. Well, I mean, we can talk about the new 4-piece actually in that context.
Oh,
because that's exactly what the new marksmanship 4-piece is. It's like, so sometimes you spawn a volley on your target, essentially.
Oh, okay. But it's just a 4-piece proc. It's not how the talent works, correct?
Yeah, it's specifically the 4-piece. I don't recall exactly how it procs, but that's the effect, yeah.
Gotcha. I mean, is that something... that sounds exciting to me. I love when things just happen that I don't have to control and maintain during an encounter with that doesn't really require more brain power on my part. Like, do you think that's a welcome change? Do you think people are going to enjoy something like that?
I think that's a really fun addition for a tier set.
Sure.
Kind of like that season 3 constant trick shots uptime with the tier set that I mentioned. I think that's fun.
Yeah.
That tier set was awesome.
It was.
Yeah,
I missed it all the time.
So maybe I'm a glass half empty person, but I just think of the times where, you get a string of procs of that volley while the target is moving, and you just see the target moving and all these pools of useless volleys being left behind it. That's the problem
true.
I'm thinking of there. Yeah, but luckily they're pretty short duration, these volleys, so it's not like, it'll place 20 seconds every minute and then the boss moves at the exact wrong time. Like, they're very frequent and short. So I think it could be okay there, but yeah, I don't think they actually activate trick shots though.
Yeah. Go ahead, Abaddon, if you had something.
Oh, I was just gonna make the joke. At least if it spawns on the target, it can't end up in the ceiling, like it usually does.
Or
Oh yeah,
can
that's a
it?
classic. Yeah, we've all been there. Yeah. And I wanted to interject with one opinion regarding like the binding, the bursting shot implosive trap thing. I won't miss bursting shot too much, but the thing is, our main AoE stun binding shot is explicitly related to moving targets, and they've just taken away all our ways of moving targets to trigger it ourselves. So before we could binding, and then we could implosive trap, and that would guarantee trigger the binding. Or in a pinch, we didn't like to do it, but sometimes it was necessary to like bursting shot, and then it would work. And especially now that we have the pack leader thing that like pulls binding shot activates on something and it pulls it all in like a vortex. It would have been nice to have that while keeping our implosive, because we get that as a base talent now, but now we don't have a way to trigger that effect ourselves, which kind of sucks, right? Because now it's like, okay, well, we're gonna put it down, and then it's like, yo, tank, move, and then they move, and then the ads get sucked back, and it just doesn't feel as good as, say, putting down the binding, then running up, bursting, shotting a huge pack, and they all go, and then it was effective and it looked cool. So I'll miss that part.
Banchers, I want to say, in the time that we've been on this episode, you've probably timed 2 or 3 plus 23 keys. So congratulations on that, first and foremost. It's really impressive.
Big IO.
But since you play at such a high level and you literally are accomplishing things that just the fewest of few people do, if you had 5 minutes alone with the developers right now, with Hunter developers, the class designers, what would you pitch them as the singular highest impact fix? Or two or three, whatever you want. It's your show. Go ahead.
Well, first I want to appreciate something they gave us. They gave us an external cooldown for the first time. We can pet sack other people now. And before pet sack, just like it was kind of useless in PvE, but now it's a 15% DR, and that's really powerful for like tanks, or just you can use it on yourself or whoever in the group needs it. So that's something I would have pitched until they just did it, and I think that's a really good idea. Otherwise, I like that they reworked Hunter's Mark to be more useful, but I think that is something I would wish is more useful than it is with this change. A lot of people have been wanting like some sort of crit aura, kind of like Mark of the Wild, but just 2% crit, 3% crit, whatever crit damage, whatever they decide. That's probably the singular best fix, because the way Hunter's Mark works right now is it's literally a raid buff. Like in raid, you're unsittable. Everyone's going to have one, maybe multiple hunters in raid. But the second you go to keys and raid buffs are more scarce, and it's more about building a comp that synergizes really well, there's not really a reason to bring Hunter unless it's OP, which is this patch. Like this patch, Hunter's OP. That's the only reason it's in the meta. We're not being brought for Hunter's Mark. But if it's another season, maybe we're weaker, but people are like, oh, I really want True Shot Aura or whatever the crit buff's called. That might be the biggest change. And then there's one other thing I'd like to mention. This is like a really, really small thing, but it's been bothering me since Shadowlands. But in BFA, there was something really cool with exotic pets. They're exotic. They have like an extra ability, and they're really minor, but they don't scale well anymore. In BFA, they used to be a really big heal from Spirit Mend, or there were pets that took like less physical damage, less magical damage.
Sure.
Stuff like that. And now it's like, I forget the number, but it's like, I think you take like 800 less physical damage if you have like this specific pet, or like the pet takes that much less damage. But that number used to be like it would be like 8,000 or like something bigger, but it's not scaling well. And the Spirit Mend's like 2% of your health or something, instead of like the way it used to be like 10 to 20.
So you're saying lean into the fact that like hunters have a wide variety of pets that they all look different, they all should feel different and bring different things to the table, and like lean more into that. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, specifically with the exotic pet bonuses, because I think they have other pet family bonuses, and I think those are mostly balanced. There's some weird ones, but I don't know, they're flavor for like solo content and stuff, but like the exotic ones in specific do like nothing, and they're supposed to be useful, I think.
Gotcha.
Yeah. Can I throw an opinion into the mix on that?
Absolutely not. Of course, man. Please.
I'll do it anyway. Just when it comes to like, I mean, pet balancing or whatnot, like right now, for better, like Beastmastery Hunters, there's like one pet that's just better than all others. Not by much, but enough that people are like 90% of BM Hunters are playing this pet, and it's like these Akiri pets. Because their exotic family ability, the ones that Benchers alluded to, well, this one is kind of universally nice, and it's just, well, your pet just has 30% extra movement speed. And that's not inherently DPS increase, but when you're moving pet grades distances, when you're approaching a pole, or like you're moving from one pole to the other in like a big chain or something, having your pet arrive sooner means that it's doing damage sooner, and that's a DPS increase. And so now everyone is using these pets, and all the models for these Akiri pets are like TBC era, kind of like free polygon, ugly bugs from Silithus for the most part. And
So
I
they
just
look
look at
really
that
good.
it's horrendous, and there's so many cool pets that they add every. But you don't get to use the new pets because, I mean, I don't know, like if they were cool and varied and balanced, like Banter said, that would be nice. But I would almost rather that they just make pets cosmetic and just let you use whatever you want, and then have a separate option to choose what your pet does.
That's exactly what I was about to propose.
Because right now, special abilities that are cool and everything are tied to how your pets look. And that's just the opposite of RPG customizability vibes, in my opinion.
Yeah.
So just let our pets look how we want them to look so they can match our transmog for the vibes. And then we can like pick in our stables like what they do. Their pet spec, we can already do that. So they've made some progress along that regard. But like, why can't I use tiny frogs that are healing reduction pets or whatever?
Yeah, like for instance, Abaddon, spitball with me here. We could have talent tree or whatever, a window pop up with a drop down menu or whatever saying, hey, I want to use a tiny frog, I want to use a cleft hoof, I want to use a gorilla, whatever. This little drop down menu, I can either have a speed enhancement or a mitigation enhancement or whatever it is, right? I mean, that's basically what you're proposing, Azure, correct?
Yeah, basically.
Yeah.
Just
Abaddon,
like let us.
Yay or nay?
Yeah.
Right now, settle it. Yay or nay?
I like it.
Let's do it. Lock it in. Blizzard,
Yep.
Hear the hunters, Blizzard. Listen, we got 3 people here who know what they're talking about, all right? Make it happen.
Please.
All right, guys.
And on the whole Hunter's Mark thing, I mean, I remember days, this is way too much to wish for now, but it used to be the case that you had this add-on, and it showed all the raid buffs that were in the group, and different pets had different raid buffs, and you could just, we need the 5% crit, I think it was at that time. We just swapped to my cat, and that would provide that. I mean, that would let one class have potentially every raid buff. I'm sure there are problems with that I'm not seeing right now, but like, I don't know. I wouldn't hate it.
I mean, that kind of raises the question, do we even need or want raid buffs at all? And I like to ask all of my guests this question because to me, I'll go first. I don't like it. I feel like it's an antiquated system. We talked about in Banchers how, comps matter, which is, I'm a big fan of comps mattering, but I also just don't like the fact that we're always almost guaranteed to be missing any number of buffs. And it rubs me the wrong way.
Yeah. I mean, I agree. There are also some problems with removing raid buffs, which is that, the optimal strategy might be to stack a lot of the same class. I mean, in BFA, when raid buffs weren't a thing, 2 or triple hunter comps, I mean, I'm biased, so I think that was fantastic. But when it's triple outlaw rogues, I'm like, maybe we should look into that. When it's triple hunter, it's fine. Like, no need to look the other way. Don't worry about it. But broadly, I agree that I don't think raid buffs should be a thing that you consider when building Mythic Plus comps. I think there's already enough imbalance in like the damage profiles of different specs and the damage done by them. You don't need to add the extra, the trappings of raid buff synergy and so on.
What do you think, Banchers? Yay or nay on raid buffs?
I feel like, so the way they're implemented right now, I'm not the biggest fan of, but I get why they implemented them. And it's like class and making sure everyone's being represented at some level. The problem with it in Mythic Plus is that, it leads to a very specific meta every season. In Raid, I feel like it's more acceptable. I guess that's why they're called raid buffs and not dungeon buffs or something.
Yeah, so just turn them off in Mythic Plus, right?
Yeah, you could turn them off in Mythic Plus. That'd be, because then you're bringing damage profiles that synergize well, and then you're bringing like people that you're just friends with instead of
Right.
whatever the meta is.
What do you think, Abaddon? Raid buffs, yay, nay? Get rid of them, keep them?
I agree. I do see the benefit that they bring, and I think, you know, speaking of how they synergize and stuff across classes, I think that ends up kind of being the big issue is how do you balance all of these different raid buffs across every single class and spec, and you know there are so many things in WoW that need balancing compared to other games. You know, everybody has different trinkets, everybody has different raid buffs, everybody has different racials. Like, how you know, balancing all of these things becomes quite difficult across everybody. So yeah, maybe removing them could help with that as well. But yeah, they have their place. I see their benefits sometimes too.
Let the record state, I never have any idea what I'm talking about. I'm not a game designer, so I just want to put that out there. Don't listen to me when in regards to anything. I just don't like him personally. We're gonna transition here to. Oh, go ahead.
Yeah, I mean, I'll just add one bit of like personal. For example, like, you know, one of my best friends from Mythic Plus lane, known him since Shelllands, currently plays Preservation Evoker, right? Preservation does really good healing. Like, there's nothing in like the 21 to 23 key level that it can't heal. But if I play with my good friend instead of a Restorer Druid, well, the whole group is just 3% weaker. We're taking, you know, 1.5% more damage, and we're all doing 3% less damage for like no obvious reason, because he's a Preservation Evoker, and it's not like he's doing, like he's bringing way more damage. He does bring a bit more damage than the rest of the group, but not enough to make up for 3% for the whole group, right? And it's not like his spec is balanced around the fact that it doesn't bring Mark of the Wild like a Druid does, or the Mastery buff that a Shaman does. And then it's just, that's just the worst kind of example, right? Like, you just can't play with your friend. Like, you're just hard capped at a certain level because you're missing that extra 3% to time keys more reliably or live them. Because like, the worst, like, the Druid buff is not just damage, it's also survivability.
Yeah.
Like 1.5% is no joke at once you're like at those margins, right? So yeah.
We're going to talk about survival, everyone's favorite class, or spec in the game, I should say. And this whole chunk I have outlined to aim toward you, Azure, but I'm going to ask all of you guys your opinion on this, even if you don't play. So buckle up, all right? My opinion on survival, don't like it. Never have, never will. I'm just not a melee survival guy. But Azure, survivability, or survival, not survivability, survival has gone through a ton of identity shifts over the years. Maybe more than any other spec in the game. I don't know. Do you think Blizzard knows what survival is supposed to be at this point?
I think that they think they know, and I think the beta and once everyone gets to play with the new boomstick and sort of bomby explosiony vibes, that will let them know if they were right about it. For my money, I kind of like the new, like the more bomb-focused vibe, but I think I like the old Eagle focus a bit more, like Fury of the Eagle, Raptor Strike, Mongoose Bite. That's sort of how it started, and that's mostly what it's been until now. Then there's been a few. Like, usually when it's this, you know, this alludes back to the thing we said earlier about really good single target and AoE in the same build. When survival has been good, it's because they've given us set bonuses that make Wildfire Bomb good, because Wildfire Bomb is an ability that we use liberally both on single target and AoE. When that button is highly tuned, well, suddenly we're doing a good single target and AoE at the same time. Suddenly we're in the meta, like in Shadowlands Season 3 and so on. And yeah, that's... So because of that fact about survival, it's often been good at single target and AoE at the same time. Often it has been left behind pretty horribly in terms of tuning, though. But just focusing on like the vibe of it, for my money, I prefer the Eagle vibes than the bomby explosiony vibes. But survival, even right now, not helped by the fact that it's kind of undertuned. One of the least reliably bottom 3 for popularity in the whole game.
Yeah.
So, and the only way they could make it overtuned, and then I'm sure people will play, but I think even when it was meta in Shadowlands Season 3 and 4, like, it wasn't that much more played than Beast Mastery, right? Even though it was, like, Beast Mastery was one of the worst specs in the game during those seasons, and Shadow Survival was just completely broken everywhere. People just don't like to play Survival, so they had to change something. Will this be it? I don't know. I think there's a lot of people who share your sentiment. It's like, you know, it doesn't really matter if it does good damage. It doesn't really matter if I'm throwing bombs or like using a shotgun or Fear of the Eagle. I don't want to play a melee hunter. I signed up to play a ranged hunter.
Right.
Yeah, I don't know what the solution is there. I think the people who like survival are positive about how it is on Midnight for the most part.
Good. Abaddon, have you experimented with the survival either during the War Within or Midnight Alpha?
Very, very briefly back in Dragonflight at a
Gotcha.
target dummy, just for fun.
Just for fun. And it wasn't fun,
just
hence
to-
why you haven't played it. I read you loud and clear. I got you.
Yeah, I mean, okay, I actually had more fun fooling around with it than I thought I was going to.
Okay.
But yeah, I'm not a melee player. I prefer to be ranged.
Yeah.
I think, like Azra said, people, you know, when you sign up for Hunter, that's kind of what you have in mind. It is just kind of known more for being a ranged spec. So being a melee Hunter can feel a bit weird in that sort of class fantasy realm. But you know, it wasn't for me, but it was more fun than I thought it was gonna be.
That's
so
good.
I
That's good.
think it has potential. Yeah.
Banchers, do or die, baby. Have you given any time recently, alpha or otherwise?
Yeah, I try to make it a point to play all the specs even when they're undertuned. To kind of get what they're I try to bring out something that they're good at all times. Like I'm like, oh, like this one random scenario, it's actually really cool to be this spec. And I try to come up with a couple of those every season. Right now in the alpha, there is, I think survival is very fun. There's just a lot of like moving parts, and there's so many moving parts that it's kind of like overwhelming. Like there's so many like good globals, it feels like right now, until like Sims come out and tell me like what is the best globals to hit in what order.
Mhm.
I feel like there's so many like things I could kind of like go into. Like you can kind of go into like more of the bomb build, the flame pitch stuff. There's like they added a lot of like interesting things, but I feel like some of them they compete with each other for like what you want to be doing with your globals. And you kind of are just like in this spot where like you're just being overwhelmed by too many options right now.
Are you familiar, Banchers? Are you familiar with any of the resource or proc systems that survival has on alpha at the moment?
Yeah, I would say in general, there's one talent that's very interesting. So the way it typically works is it's a focus managing spec. That's like 80% of the resource, and then there's like this other buff you get when you hit kill command called tip of the spear, and it's like you hit kill command to get focus, and then once you have this buff, it increases the damage of your next ability, and it's like, okay, what's the highest priority spell that I can hit with this buff?
Okay.
And then you spend it on that thing. And there's this one talent that gives you 2 charges when you hit kill command that I think makes it much more simple and like feel good to play. The problem is it's a capstone, and I don't know if you want to like go all the way down to the capstone just to get this one talent that makes it more smooth. But you're basically just managing those 2 things, like your focus and then your tip stacks and what you want to spend them on. And it feels relatively smooth in general.
Okay. Azra, what do you think? This is not in the notes, by the way. What do you think it says when we have a spec like survival and we have some of the biggest brains in the hunter class right now in the community, and we're all like, yeah, survival, it's this, it's that, it's got some of this, it's not got some of that. What do you think that says about the spec as a whole when none of us are like, yeah, survival, baby, it's the best? Is there concern there?
I just don't think that the overlap, the Venn diagram sort of overlap between people who sign up to play Hunter, who like rolled Hunter at whatever point they did in the past, and the kind of people who like what survival generally has to offer. I just think there's very little overlap.
Yeah.
I think survival, like if you divorce it from Hunter, I think survival over the years has been a really, really cool spec, one of the coolest and most flavorful in the game. It's just not what the people who already committed to playing Hunter
It's not
signed
what
up
the
for.
people want, Azra. It's not what we want.
Like literally, like if they made a separate class and it was just a single spec class and it was survival Hunter, I think people would play that and really enjoy it. But the people who play Hunter, who have geared Hunters, like no one rolls Hunter just to play survival. And most people aren't really comfortable going out of their roles. They say, I want to be a melee player, I want to be a ranged player. That's their specialty.
Right.
And 95% of people who sign up to play Hunter, they sign up to play either marksmanship or beast mastery.
I think you just made that metric
Hunter is the
95%.
beast mastery.
Where did you get that stat from, sir? I think you just made that up.
I mean, I could probably check the statistics, and I think it might be higher than 95% actually.
That's fair. It probably is.
Honestly, I'm just gonna do it right now. Ask someone else a question, and I'm gonna get back to you in a moment.
Abaddon,
I think.
Go ahead, Ventures. Go ahead.
I think Azur's right on the point there. Like, I was thinking of everyone I know that plays survival, and none of them are hunter mains. Like, generally, they're all like melee flex players. It's like, yeah, they
Sure.
play DK, rogue, and survival or something. Like, just like that's in
Yeah.
their classes.
Yeah.
I got the numbers.
Go ahead. Tell us. Hit it.
It's 98. So in a mythic raid, only 2% of the passes logged for hunter are survival ones. So it's 98% actually.
So what you're saying is there's concern there, is what you're saying to us right now.
Yeah.
Abaddon,
The only spec list played is Mom's Warrior. Sorry to interrupt. Go ahead.
No, you're fine. You're fine. Abaddon, if they got rid of BM and MM and it was Hunter was only survival, would you still play the class?
Oh boy. You know what? That might be the one thing to make me not a hunter main anymore. I'm not gonna lie. I have some alts that I like. Marksman main. I don't use a pet.
Oh, that's
No
fair.
pets
That's fair.
for me.
That's fair.
I have some alts that I think I definitely enjoy more than survival, so would probably be switching. Yep.
All right. So what you're saying is they need to get rid of survival and just really double down on BM and MM. I got you. I'm reading between the lines. I understand. I understand. Banchers, you have proven time and time and time again that hunters belong in high keys. We've already established that the current meta is favoring hunters right now. How is the class feeling in that environment? Are the days of hunters being squishy finally behind us for good? How are they shaping up in that regard for Midnight?
So a lot of other classes actually got defensively pruned. And I don't know if I should be saying this, but I feel like we really didn't. Which means we might be looking really strong defensively going into next expansion. And then having an external alone is very useful because the only other class that has something, well, I guess there's multiple, but like it's like Paladin Sac. Not many other DPS have something like this. They have like maybe like a mass barrier, AMZ, those kind of things, but to specifically like target someone and like give them an external is really strong. And then our defensives, there's one talent from the Dark Ranger tree called Smokescreen that I think's it's always been really OP, and people are using it a lot this season because they're Dark Ranger. But I don't know. I feel like just in general we're very tanky and it looks good. And then our damage profile looks a lot better. For BM, I think our damage profile is gonna look really good.
I love seeing that little turtle shell pop above my head in keys, knowing that I've been protected more than I ever have been in the past playing my hunter. It's nice seeing that little turtle shell. Banchers, I want to ask you another question again, since we're kind of talking about Mythic Plus right now. Are there any mechanics in Alpha, whether it be dungeon mechanics or maybe something on the player side, talents or whatnot, that has potential high key impact that you know
of? There's a couple things with the dungeon design. So like you know at the start of Brackenide Hollow, there's like these 6 like Tuskar prisoners and you have to rescue them. There's like 12 out there and you can like pick which ones you want to rescue. There's 3 dungeons that are the same style. So there's like objectives that you have to like handle, and there's like maybe 10 of them and you have to do 5 of them to spawn a boss. Which is nice for people who make routes. They're kind of like going more into that style. And then some of the boss mechanics feel kind of unique. They're kind of moving in an interesting direction. I think a lot of the dungeon and boss designs are they're moving in a way where you don't need add-ons to kind of solve some of these problems, which is nice. I think that's because they're also pruning add-ons.
Right.
And it feels more obvious when things are happening, and they feel more like macro abilities instead of like micro abilities that you have to like min-max, like some sort of timer, or you have to be lined or you instantly die or something. Those things are kind of not really there from what I was noticing from I did all the dungeons on different specs to kind of like see how they interact, and they seemed interesting. But yeah.
That was a lovely little layup you just a little assist you gave us, because the next question, Abaddon, is how do the UI and add-on changes affect your ability to track your things like your procs, your dots, your pet control, stuff like that moving into Midnight?
Yeah, so this is going to be interesting. I think, speaking from a marksman hunter focus, there are things that I like to be able to track. I think it kind of depends. Some people you talk to say, "Oh, you don't really need to be tracking that," but sometimes it's just nice to know for sure um, that it's happening. So I mean, we're losing Streamline, but just to use Streamline as an example, like you get Streamline just within the flow of the rotation, anyways. It's going to be there, but I do currently use a weak aura to track it just for the information and the context of knowing, okay, I have charges of that. Things like precise shots, trick shots, even lunar storms, so that I know which if my rapid fire is going to trigger that next, and maybe not use it when a mob is on 2%. So because I've done that before. So things like that I think are really useful information to people. I'm interested to see to what level we're going to be able to track those things going forward, because I don't think it's a bad thing to be able to track those. I think that's actually really good. Like, this is, things that are in the game that we need to utilize. And I think being able to have it directly in front of us to properly utilize it is a great thing. So interested to see to what extent we can or can't track them, because I would still like to be able to track all of that going forward.
So kind of in the same vein, this is for you, Abaddon, still. Do you think Blizzard's getting better at design literacy, like designing with player cognition and feedback in mind, or do you think there's still a disconnect between intention and implementation?
So yes and no.
Okay.
So,
Nuance.
they have spoke on wanting to reduce the cognitive load, which is, this whole, I guess, add-on apocalypse pruning is kind of where all that's headed, simplifying. Things are getting simplified. Sometimes it feels like they've gone too far with that. So there's the intention is there, which is fine. I think that intention's okay, but the implementation of it is gone a little too far too quickly. Because if there's nothing at all to think about, that's not fun.
Yeah.
I mean, we've spoke about Beast Mastery being simple, and there are people who like it for its simplicity, and that's a great example, because there will be people who enjoy that. But from a personal standpoint, I really enjoy a little bit of the analysis and the decision making, and things that come with the nuance of a class. So having that sort of simplified down to reduce the cognitive load, interested to see it, because I'm not entirely sure how that's going to feel long term.
Yeah.
Yeah, and in terms of, they've done a much better job with sort of the encounter designs. They've been improving how things are telegraphed. The mechanics are easier to see. So sometimes, I mean, we still get purple on purple on purple on purple. That happens, but they have been doing better with that. They've been improving with listening to player feedback. Sometimes, the pet change for marksmen, which they were going to just completely be like, nope, you can't have a pet at all, which upset a lot of people. And then they sort of walked it back to be like, okay, we'll leave the option in the talent tree, but you obviously don't have to use it, when they took away Lone Wolf. So, and things like all the affixes that they completely scrapped and walked back before the War Within, where they had an idea and everybody was like, absolutely not. So they listened to that feedback as well. Those are two examples that come to mind. So I think they've made improvements in some regard to, design literacy, listening to the community. I think there are definitely still disconnects there, though, for sure.
Azertharian, I'm going to toss a question to you, and this is I think this is right up your alley, but how do you think the constant cycle of guide videos and theorycraft channels and Reddit posts and all anything and everything in between those, how does that shape what the average player believes before they even log into the game to play, in this case, Midnight?
A tremendous amount, and this is something like I sometimes struggle with. Is like I feel, especially with the alpha being as limited as it has been, and like making content with the alpha, a lot of humans have this like annoying bias towards they sort of just subscribe to the first thing they hear on a subject. Like the first, whatever the first thing you hear about anything is, you're more likely to believe that going forward than like if you then hear the opposite in a future guide video. And so I feel this sort of responsibility to, I don't know, like sometimes for example, like with the aim shot, longer cast time and so on, I might have my opinions about that, but like I don't feel like it's my place to be like, oh, this is objectively bad for the game or whatever. And I feel because especially with most people's look into the alpha and early design stuff just being through like videos and whatnot, I am cognizant of painting people's perspectives and opinions before they actually get to play with it themselves. And people may just, like lots of people, have just decided a priori that, like, well, I don't like the new marksmanship, or I don't like the way BM has been simplified, because I'll go on and say, well, yeah, marksmanship is mostly the same except for longer aim shots. Beast mastery is most of the sort of things you would normally think of as skill expression removed. Yeah, I mean, I think content creators have, for the good of the game and community, a little bit of a responsibility to sort of, I don't know how to like articulate it, I suppose, but yeah, the constant cycle of guide videos, theorycraft channels, and Reddit posts, they shape an incredible amount of what people believe about the game before they actually play it themselves, and that's problematic for feedback because people are actually just kind of parroting whatever they heard on a Discord. They're not actually articulating whatever they think themselves.
So this is partly your
that's
fault.
a problem for.
So well, I mean, it falls on you.
I'm cognizant of my responsibility in this regard, and I try to keep it in mind when I mean, I've never really been like, people often like ask me for what's your take on this and that, this and this change, and like I'll have a take, but usually not that strong of one, because like the way I sort of approach the game is like, whatever the design of the specs happens to be, well, I'm here to, like, I'm passionate about working out how to do it optimally and to tell other people how to do the same. How it actually plays and what I think about it, I don't think my opinion necessarily matters more than any random person in the communities on that. Like, I'm educated on how to best play these things, but that doesn't mean I'm necessarily more educated on what's the better design for most people. Like, if anything, as a person working in the theory crafting space, like, I live in a bubble in these class discords. These class discords, they don't represent the vast majority of people playing Hunter out there. And so for me to be like, okay, well, this is what I declare to be the correct take about MMBM and what should change and what I like about these things, it doesn't necessarily feel like my place to do so. So what I try to focus on is like showing people, like, as factually, as objectively as I can, like, this is what it's like. You can see in my screen what this rotation sort of looks like and get a feel for it yourself through that. But in terms of what you want to tell Blizzard, what you think about it, like, I'm not going to tell you what to tell them. I'm just going to tell you, well, here are the facts as I know them. Let me know what you think in the comments below, and let Blizzard know that as well.
That's very responsible of you, sir. You should, way to go, man.
Thanks.
You're welcome. Addon, do you think the community sometimes reinforces false ceilings, such as, this spec is dead or this talent's unplayable, that actually limit experimentation with these classes and specs, in this case, Hunter?
Absolutely. Unfortunately, yeah.
Tell us how you really feel.
So I think, that's a general statement. I definitely don't think it's true for everybody, but I think there is a part of the community that, gets into that meta comp or nothing kind of mindset, and that you have to use the meta comp to, I guess that's technically speaking towards M+ specifically, but that you have to use that to get anywhere, or you have to use that to, be good. Which I can understand that if you're at the sort of, title it up Hall of Fame, where that sort of heavy competition is, I get it, because you are trying to squeeze out every little bit of damage of CC, of anything like that. You need everything you can get. I understand it at that level, but I think that there's this middle section of the community that isn't quite that high, but still gets lost in that a little bit. I have done, decently high keys with the most non-meta comp you could ever imagine, and we've been just fine. Like, there's a lot you can do without having to worry about that. I think people have a tendency to get caught up sometimes in a, "Oh, that's bad, don't invite them." But I don't think that's the case at all. I mentioned a lot on my stream, like, that, you know, I've been obviously playing Marksman for the War Within, as I usually do, and people have asked, like, "Oh, are you just playing it because it's really good right now? Because we've had a good expansion." And I always have to say, "Nope, if we were on the bottom of the charts, I'd still be playing it." I truly love the spec. It's what I
Mm.
feel at home doing and playing, and I like, experimenting with it and seeing what I can do. Um, so I don't really care if it's bad. I'm still gonna play it. My guild can suck it up because I'm gonna bring it to raid regardless. Um, so, I think there's something to be said for just playing what you enjoy at a
Yeah.
certain point, as opposed to, yeah, limiting that experimentation, doing the false ceilings of you can't play this, it's not good. Um, I think that's a bit of a problem in parts of the community. Yeah.
Speaking of things that we all enjoy, last week I talked about it with Public and THD and Kalamazoo. Blizzard is baking more and more add-on functionality into the base UI. Some love it, some hate it. Banchers, again, as somebody who may or may not be really good at this video game, how do the built-in nameplates, the tracking tools, the cooldown manager, how is it going to compare to what we have known and relied on in the past?
Yeah, this is a really interesting question for me. Considering I basically play like base UI for the most part.
What?
Yeah, well, over the years I started with base UI as like the baseline, and then I've added things that I'm just like I feel like is required at some point. So like
Sure.
I recently got Omni CD like at the end of Dragonflight, like things like that. But like for a long time, like I was like pure base for a long time, and then slowly added things here and there. So for me, it's nice because I feel like I'm getting some more stuff, but they definitely are worse than the counterparts. Right now, there's a lot of things that so like I definitely use a lot of add-ons. Like I do at this point, like I have played it, I have Omni CD, I use my
Not
own
for
custom
long.
recars. Yeah. And the one-to-one differences, they need whitelisting and blacklisting on the nameplate still. At the very least, they need to like specifically curate what they want us to see from their end. If that's an easier way, I think, to do it. A better way would be letting us pick and choose what we want to blacklist and whitelist, but that sounds way more difficult on their end to implement in like a short time frame, because I think there's like 3 to 4 months before we're like in the raid. So they need to do some more of that. They're completely removing what we track from our teammates, like Omni CD and stuff. They want it to be the skill part to be like remembering that stuff instead of just having it on my UI, which I'm fine with. The problem is when I like play my like healer alts or something, frames are difficult. We need more frame technology. Like a lot of healers use some sort of add-on like Voodoo or something to see frames and see like filter out important debuffs, bad or things that they don't want to track, and then like sort their buffs on targets. Like especially like Resto Druid is something in particular that it's very nice to have a custom frame UI because a lot of things there. In terms of Hunter, there's just some dots that are on my target that I don't care about, and especially if I can see other people's dots in any way, that's bad. But overall, I think they've done a really good job over the course of the alpha so far, making it better. Because if the first iteration of all these things were really rough, like a lot of the cooldown manager stuff didn't really work. And now I can see like my own buffs for the most part. And I think they're just gonna like keep iterating on that. But
that's good. I like that. Azur, is Blizzard empowering the average player here with these add-on changes, or do you think they're just making it harder? Well, I mean, I guess both could be true. Or are they just making it harder for top players to express mastery whenever they're getting into the raids and their high-level Mythic Plus?
I mean, a little bit of both. I mean, I think the stated goal, and I think they're both basically achieving that, is like lowering the barrier to entry for like endgame World of Warcraft. Because right now, if you really want to play endgame World of Warcraft, I mean, at absolute minimum, you need like a Uyghurs of some kind. Maybe not a class Uyghur pack, but those help and, very popular. But, you can't really like be mythic raiding without a mythic raid Uyghur pack, for example.
Yeah.
And some Uyghurs just solve fights for you, like Fractalus this time around. So in that sense, I don't know if they're empowering the average, because I feel like the average player currently uses Uyghurs, but I think new ones coming in, they can't even focus on the game, because like before you even get to press your buttons and go into a dungeon or raid, like you need to sort out your UI. You need like if I was like introducing a friend to the game, I wouldn't just send them into the raid or dungeon with like a base UI. It's like, yeah, enjoy, World of Warcraft. It's great. No, bro. You gotta hit up CurseForge, bro. You install a plater, and you gotta get maybe LVI, though, because the base UI, like LVI, sorts you out pretty well. Gotta get this week or pack, this week or pack, this week or pack. Or you encounter this issue with any mechanic, or just get this week or it solves it for you. Like, I think they're getting rid of that. I think that's a good thing. But then on the other side, like top players, I don't think this will be a lack of skill expression at the top end. I think it'll just be different. For example, the thing that Banjo said about tracking your groups, CDs and stuff. Instead of me being able to see the CD on my Havoc, Demon Hunters, Chaos Nova, he will say, "I got Chaos Nova. I'll use it now." So like, because at the moment, at the very high end of Mythic Plus, like CC rotations, they don't even need to be communicated, because you just know, you can see what's available,
Right.
and you just know, okay, and you have in your head like a priority list. Okay, we go Druid first, the DK, then whatever, then Hunter. Well, the others are on CD, so I'm just going to use mine. No communication needed. So I like that stuff will be like skill expression will be in the communication there. But that also makes it rough for those many Mythic Plus groups that aren't on voice. Like if you there's no way to like communicate at that point. Like if you don't have a weak aura and you don't have voice, then it's literally just a free for all. And that's at that point you can't express your skill, because you don't have the information, and the information you have you can't share with the others. It just becomes a free for all. You can try to remember it, but I mean, it's not like there's another add-on that tells you when they use the Chaos Nova, right? You'd have to look at the animation of the mobs. I mean, maybe some people are more equipped to do that than I am, but I don't think that most people are going to be doing that. I think CC stuff is just a free for all now in most pugging Mythic Plus.
Good luck, Banchers. We wish you well.
Yeah. So harder for top players to express mastery. Top players, no, because they're all on voice. But like people trying to push high Mythic Plus in pugs and so on, I think are going to be hit the hardest by this, because they're going to feel like they have less agency over their group's success.
Sure.
There's going to be way more overlapping of CCs and kicks and all that stuff. And I think that's the downgrade.
Gotcha. We're going to blitz our way through these last few questions. That way I don't hold you guys hostage longer than promised. Abaddon, we're going to swap to design philosophy and class futures and whatnot. Do you think, or what do the current alpha builds signal about Blizzard's design direction for hunters, and then even potentially beyond that?
I think we've touched on elements of this a little bit. So, I think it varies by spec. We see that simplification of beast mastery happening, which it's always been a little bit more of a simpler spec anyways, but we see that being pushed even further with the heavy focus on the pet fantasy. And I think people are generally not happy about the aim shot cast time being longer. So, I understand their philosophy of wanting aim shot to feel impactful, and that's what they've said. But people are pretty confused, upset by this a little bit. And I think this will inevitably make you lose people, depending on how it plays out long term. Marksman is looking at being more of feeling like a caster class. I mean, of course, it's hunter. We still have a lot of mobility compared to actual casters, but with that aim shot being longer, we're gonna have to, pre-plan for mechanics more so than we've been used to. And that's the skill expression that Azure talked about, which I that's fine with me, but I think some people are really gonna feel that. Um, and it'll be interesting to me if that is conducive to keeping a healthy hunter population. And I think it kind of depends on what part of the community you're talking about. More, casual players might feel that really hard, that they're losing a lot of mobility. Um, Interested to see if encounter design kind of makes up for that, if they adjust at all with this whole, add-on pruning stuff, how the encounters are going to get changed. Um, so yeah, interested to see where that will go. They're definitely, Beast Mastery is being simplified. Marksman's losing mobility. I think that's kind of the direction we're seeing right now. So interested to see it long term and how it actually feels.
Azure, should encounter design... Oh, my kids are knocking because they know they're about to paint my beard pink. But should encounter design dictate class balance, or should class balance drive encounter creativity at this point in the game?
I mean, in a perfect world, yes, should encounter design dictate class balance? I mean, mostly it does, right? Like if you have a raid that has a lot of, let's say, spread AoE fights, I think, it was, what was it, Castle Nathria, like, then suddenly Boomkin is a really good class for that raid. And in that sense, encounter design, I mean, I think, yes, encounter design necessarily dictates class balance or like popularity in a raid. But should class balance drive encounter creativity? Well, the problem is that they don't know the class balance before the encounters are made and shipped, right?
What? Are you serious?
Unfortunately.
Blizzard doesn't know about what? Unbelievable.
Yeah, I mean, well, okay, maybe it is like I have maybe a radical take on this, which is I think that whatever balance ends up being the case, like whatever the tier list of classes and specs happens to be in a season, I don't think that Blizzard put them there. Like for example, I think that BM's OPness right now is an unintended accident. I don't even think they intended for BM Dark Ranger to be like the best hero talent for BM after their changes. But they just didn't anticipate exactly what their changes would do. Now BM is OP. I don't think that there's that meme with like the thing like pouring the thing is like a perfectly meticulously balancing everything that we've distilled like the perfect class balance. I think that they try their best, but ultimately they have no idea what's going to be actually turn out to be the best.
Right.
And so I think it's impossible for them to design encounters around that, because like the encounters are designed, then the class balance is found out, and I just don't think Blizzard really design. They balance classes, but they don't decide what's good or what's bad. I think that's mostly an accident.
Yeah. Abaddon, how transparent should Blizzard be about design intent? Would more open communication reduce backlash, or do you think that would just invite more noise from the community?
Yes.
All of the above.
Yes. I think both would happen. We've seen them making a much larger effort since I'm going to say Dragonflight. I think that's right, to be more transparent. And it, having that back and forth of feeling like things are communicated helps with the frustration that people feel sometimes, of kind of wondering what's going to happen. I think the pacing of this communication can be really important, because there are times when they'll give us a little inkling of something or a little teaser, and then most of the time it gets people concerned or worried. It's not always a good feeling. And then we get these radio silences for a long time, and people are really, is this going to be bad? Is this going to kill the spec? Is this going to, which some of those are maybe a bit dramatic, but I think this happens a lot. We either get info dumps or long radio silences. The add-on apocalypse is that people are calling it. I think that's a really good example, because that the interview with Dratnos and Max, it was brought up, and then we didn't hear anything about it for a long time, for months, I think. And then all of a sudden, they're taking
Boom.
the just we're gonna nuke everything approach, and I think it was very polarizing for the community. So they've been good about communication. I think open communication and a bit of consistency in there would be really beneficial. And they have been doing that. I think they could do better, but we've definitely seen them putting more of an effort towards it, which I think is what they should be doing. And
Yeah.
yes, it creates more noise. Yes, it creates more backlash, but also creates more feedback, which ultimately I think is a good thing. And, you know, maybe even might help feedback from different points of the community. I think there's parts of the community that have a particular ability to be louder than other parts of the community. So, you know, if we can get more communication, maybe we can rope everybody into giving some feedback. So, yes and no, but I think it would be beneficial for sure to be transparent with the communication.
Banters, would you agree? Good communication. We need clarity. We need honesty. We need consistency. Like, do you think there's some lacking there?
Yeah, I feel like especially when they're making these sweeping changes, they just need to give us their intent first and then do some changes, and then we know they're not perfect with these changes, and then we can give feedback and be like, hey, we know you're trying to like make the game more like easier to get into, but removing every add-on may not be the perfect solution. Maybe you should specifically remove this and this, and like maybe they talk to like add-on developers. And I think they should have more clear paths to theorycrafters for every class, because a lot of changes get made, I think, with like their perspective as the class designers, but they're not really like having like, I don't know, I feel like Azure should have like a perfect like one-to-one with like the hunter developer, and then every single class developer should also have like a one-to-one with like every developer, so they can provide like nice feedback that's like been ordered together.
They did. I don't
like
mean
that.
to cut you off. I apologize, but they did do that to a degree in MOP, right? The Twitch chat can chime in. I think it was MOP, right, where they had a team of high-end players saying, "Hey, this is good. This is bad. Look at this. Work on that." Am I remembering that correctly? Maybe.
I don't remember it in exact those terms. I mean, I've never had, like, aside of like one minor instance, I've never had like communications with Blizzard on that front at any level. And I'm not saying that I should be like, so I'm not interested in be like, okay, well, I should change the direction of the spec or whatever, say what I
Sure.
think. But I obviously have my ears to the community in a big deal, because I'm a sort of admin the Hunter Discord, so I know what most people think, and I can distill that into feedback and deliver that. And I would love to do that. And also, you know, the thing Bancher said about like them communicating their intent is so important, because that's the thing a lot of people get missed. Like, Blizzard should not necessarily communicate every single change that they make. What they spend all those meetings and whatnot discussing is like, what do we want broad strokes on a macroscopic level the game to change in what way? And then we are supposed to, as players, okay, well, this is your goal. You know, I'm not gonna, like, I cannot use feedback to change their goal of the game. Like, that is very rigid and locked in for at least the next major patch cycle. So, you know, when they state a certain goal for add-ons is to simplify the game, like, no amount of feedback is likely to change that before launch, right? But when we listen to the intent they have, then we can communicate along those lines, right? So if like Blizzard came to me and they said, okay, we want to make marksmanship feel a little bit more like a sniper, like how might we do that? Then okay, well, I know what the intent is. I'm not going to be able to change that intent. That's not my job. But I can provide maybe some ideas on how to achieve the goal that they have. So I think that when it comes to their communication and how we interact with it, it's like they communicated an intent, and we are to basically help them make the game that they want to make. Then, if we think that they're trying to make the wrong game, that's a separate conversation, but it's just outside the scope of like instantaneous feedback from the alpha, beta for an upcoming patch or expansion.
Yeah. I have
That's
stolen
like
an
micro
hour.
feedback, macro feedback. Yeah.
I've stolen an hour and 29 minutes of your time. I appreciate you guys being here so much. Twitch chat, please give it up for these guys and gal. Absolutely fantastic. I have one more question for each one of you. Please remember, before I ask this last question, guys, you can find their Twitch name, I'm trying to find more cameras. You can find their Twitch names underneath their webcam. Please go give them a follow, a sub. You can find them on their Twitter, their YouTube. Go to their about section on their pages. You'll get links to everything. I probably have like a rotating thing, like, hey, here's your YouTube, here's your Twitch, but that's for another day, nevertheless. I do want to plug real quick, next week's episode, by the way, will be Healing in Midnight. We have Jack next week. We've got Ellesmere. We've got Mega Set. So 3 super high-end healers, just like we have 3 super high-end hunters here today. So if you're a healer, you've got a lot to look forward to next week. And also, one more quick thing. After the show here in a few minutes, my kids are going to walk into my office, and they're going to spray paint my beard pink. So feel free to stick around. All right, last question. Banchers, I'm going to start with you. If you could send one message to the WoW dev team, specifically about hunters, of course, what would it be? One message.
Let's go with the thing I said earlier about the like exotic pets, and then also like maybe like also skilling the stuff in the stable for all your pet abilities. I think that sounds good.
I think that'd be a lot of fun, in all seriousness. And I'm not just saying that to be agreeable. I think that would be cool. Azur, same question, of course. One message, buddy.
Similar vein, but like, don't make hunters have particular cosmetics of pets be optimal. Like, don't force any one cosmetic view of a pet to be optimal. Let us use the cosmetics pets that we want, and then let us like choose which of the exotic abilities we want. Let BM potentially have some more of them, but mainly just like don't constrain aesthetics for mechanics. Like, and I'd extend that to racials in general. Like, I'm sick. I don't want to play a dwarf hunter, but I feel compelled to, because the stone form is broken and it's also the best DPS ratio. I mean, I basically feel like I have to, and maybe that's like self-imposed, but it just feels unnecessary because I think I'm not the only dwarf hunter out there who actually kind of resents being a hunter. Dwarf, sorry.
What would you rather be, a troll? What's your flavor?
I'd probably pick Tauren or like Drek. I would bounce around. That's the thing. Like, I would pay them more money to be able to play different racials depending on what I vibe with. But as it is right now, I've been a dwarf for I don't know how many years, and it's unlikely to change like anytime soon. So it's free money for them, and everyone gets to play the racial that looks good. So I don't know. Easy.
All right, Abaddon.
Yeah.
Are you going to break the mold? We've had 2 pet-centric bits of feedback. What is it, Abaddon? The one thing you could ask or tell, demand.
If I didn't, I'm very anti-pets. I definitely express the same sentiment with the pets, though. I think those are good suggestions for those who use them. I honestly, what I mentioned earlier, I would really like to see the target target and not on cursor that we're seeing with other classes like LA Shaman and Earthquake. I would really like to see that on Hunter. Of course, we're getting it with the tier set a little bit, but more permanently as an option, I would like to see some sort of utility, for lack of a better word, changes like that to Hunter, where that it becomes more of little bit of an easier use of the ability, I guess is the way to put it. I would love to see that as a specific example.
That'd be a lot of fun. All right, everyone, pretend like there's some really nice outro music playing right now. I don't have any, just pretend. Abaddon, Azur, and Banchers, I cannot thank you all enough for being here. That's beautiful. That's beautiful. I think I'm gonna record that and loop it. That'll be my outro music from now on.
That'd be good.
Yeah. Thank you guys so much for being here. I really, really appreciate it. It has been a pleasure either meeting you, Banchers and Abaddon, or re-meeting you and hanging out with you again, Azur Therian. As the months unfold, leading to midnight, going into midnight, please expect another DM coming your way, because I would love to sit down and chat some more after we get through some more classes and whatnot. But please feel free to plug yourselves one more time. Where can people find you? We'll start with Abaddon.
I'm Abaddon on Twitch, as you see it on screen here. All the other social medias, I'm Abaddon Live. So if you want to find me anywhere else, that's where you can find me. Twitter, YouTube, Instagram, TikTok.
You're fantastic. Thank you so much. Azur, take it away. Where can people find you? Thank you.
Yeah, mostly on like Twitch, and that also leads to Twitch and YouTube mainly, and then also have a Discord that people can just kind of I'm pretty easy to reach, like in terms of hunter questions and help and that kind of thing. So certainly my Discord GG/Azotherian, Twitch and YouTube, all under the same banner, and yeah, that's pretty much it.
Beautiful, man. Thank you so much. Banchers, seal the deal, baby. Last thing, where can people find you?
Yeah, so my Twitch and YouTube are both Banchers with a Z. I also have other media, but those are the main two. So we'll just plug those two.
Those are important. Guys, have a great rest of your Sunday. Thank you so much. Get out of here. Banchers, go enjoy your time, my man. Abaddon, Azure, go enjoy the rest of your... Actually, you're probably going to bed, Azure, but nevertheless. Thank you guys so much. I really appreciate you. I will reach out to you again in the months to come. Please enjoy your day. Until next time. Give it up, people.
Thank you so much.
Way
Very
to
fun.
go.
Thank you.
Woo!
No, thank
Sounds
you.
good. That was really fun.
Fantastic. That was fun, man. I appreciate you.